Many times in the Bible we hear stories of Jesus that are set around the Sea of Galilee, and his first disciples, Simon Peter and his brother Andrew, were fishermen. So boats feature quite a lot. This craft will show you how to make a boat out of a clothes peg, a scrap of fabric, and either a twig or a cocktail stick for the mast. Hope you enjoy. So the next thing I'm going to show you how to make is a little tiny boat. Now for this you are going to need to take a clothes peg apart. So again, make sure you've asked if that's okay, because I'd hate for one of you to find a grown-up trying to peg out the washing and you haven't got enough pegs. That would be a disaster. So what we do is we get hold of the peg, which is here, and I'm going to twist both sides apart, and that springy bit should just drop out. Now I'm trying to think of a use for those. I'm not going to throw them away. I will find a use. They've got to have a use. So that's just going to go in my box of bits for now. And then what we're going to do with this one is we need to find a little twig, which is about the length of your peg. You can see that's about that length. And we're going to make use of the little hole that goes down here where the spring was in the peg. And instead of the peg being that way round, like that, we're going to put the sides, bits that have been at the back here and the front, swap them over and glue those. Okay, so that gets glued together. Here we go. And we'll just give that a pinch and hold that closed. And of course, if you need to wait for the glue to dry, you can always peg it with another peg to hold it together. It's quite handy, really. So we're going to get the little twig, and on the end of the twig I'm just going to pop some glue. Here we are. Oops. And I'm going to push that little twig through that hole. Oops. Oh dear, it's come apart. That's not the end of the world. I can just clamp it around there. It's got the glue in. That's going to stay pushed together. Okay, and then we'll leave that to dry for a minute. So in the meantime, those little bits of fabric that I mentioned right at the beginning, I've got lots of little tiny bits, and they really are tiny, because you only need something that's about 6 centimetres long by 4 centimetres wide. They're really small. You can see those in relation to my hand. They are tiny. So taking the little base of your boat, you need to find a piece of fabric that's about the right height for that little tiny twig mast that we've got there. And we're going to cut it into a triangle. So don't have to make a big thing about being accurate. We'll just make that nice little sail shape. Okay, there it is. And I'm going to put another piece of fabric on the back so that it has a two-sided sail. So I think this is the only one I've got in that colour, so we'll just do it as a rough cut there. Chop that one off into a little triangle as well. And then this is the messy bit, because you are going to cover this in glue, and if you're like me, you will get it all over your hands. But the good stuff is this will come off with hot water and soap and give your hands a good wash. So I've got one very gluey triangle, and I'm going to fix that onto that mast. You see, there we go. Goes right up to the top, and then I'm going to put a little bit of glue up that twig mast here. So that's all nice and glued up, and then we can fix this piece of fabric to the back. Put the two bits together, and again just leave it to dry. There we are. And then I can trim this bit off here if they haven't quite matched up. I'll just trim that off there. and make a bit of a neater job of it. And it'll probably be a bit easier when the glue's dried. So there we've got the little tiny boat.